Hey everyone, Seek Knowledge here. I'm coming with a video on how to make your lids for liquid cultures or for spore solution. These lids you can use on any type of lid that you want to use, whether it's plastic, metal, any brand, doesn't matter. Now, personally, I would only guarantee that they're going to be good for liquid culture with a metal lid. Plastic ones do leak. That's why I'm adding some RTV around here. I'm going to test this and see if I can get it to not leak without having to tape the lid. I think that taping the lid just doesn't work for me. Alright, so I'm going to go this quick because I don't have very much time. Here's what you're going to need. You're going to need some of these rubber garments. These are a 3/16 inch hole and a 1/16 inch gap there. Whatever lid you'd like to use, you need a 1/4 inch drill bit, a 5/32 drill bit, or 5/32 punch, some red RTV, syringe filters, and then some other things that you might need is a razor knife, a drill, a Dremel, and these are the things I use to make my lids, so I'm going to show you the process I use now. So the first thing I do is we're going to take the lids and we have them all stacked in order. We're going to take our drill and put in our 1/4 inch drill bit. We're going to drill a hole right there, right in the middle of the ball logo. And when you drill your hole, you want to apply a decent amount of pressure and drill slowly. Once it pops through the first one, you'll want to stop drilling. It's popped through the first one, so I stop drilling and I take that first lid off, and you have a nice round hole. The second one is going to have a little piece of metal on it. You're going to pull that off, put it back in place, and keep drilling. And you're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again for however many lids you want to make. You have to be careful because if you don't drill it right, you'll end up going through and making holes that won't work. This is an example of a hole that won't work. Here's another example of a hole that won't work. And another example. It's really easy to accidentally do that, so you have to just apply the correct amount of pressure and only drill through one at a time, and you'll be able to make a perfect hole. Alright, so we're going to move on. Next, you'll want to take your punch, or you'll want to take your 5/32 drill bit, and directly across from your first hole, you're going to punch a second hole. I like this hole to be fairly deep in there. This is going to be your filter hole, and you don't want it on the edge where the filter isn't going to fit on there good. So I put it in as deep as I can on this punch, and I'm just going to squeeze and give it a little bit of a twist, and it'll pop the hole. And there you go. That's for the syringe filter. Now I like to take my drill again, and I take a little stone and just grind the edges of the holes that I made. So we're just going to take and go here and here. And the same thing, a little hole. And that's just gonna take all the burrs off. Just like that. Okay, now we're gonna take our red RTV, and on our smaller hole where the syringe filter is gonna go, we're going to apply a bead around the hole. Well, and actually I did forget one thing I also like to do before I do that. I'm sorry I can't go back, but what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to just rough this area up right around the hole. Alright, now we've got our hole roughed up, and we can go ahead and put our RTV on there, and then we're going to push. The syringe filter is going to fit very tightly around that hole, and you're going to push it down onto it. And once it's on, it is locked on there, it's not going to come off. Then you take a piece of paper towel and wipe the excess if you'd like, just to clean it up a little bit. Paper towel works really good for doing that. And just make sure that you get it all off. And that's that. Okay, then we're going to take and insert our rubber garment. And it does fit extremely tight, and that way you don't want to go with a bigger drill bit, because you want it to be pushing in the very middle, like you want it to be really tight, and that way the RTV can't just pull out of the hole. It is tricky to get in, especially with the gloves on. I do it better without a glove on. Okay. Nice. There we go. Got it in. Now we're going to use RTV again. This is pretty much the last step. So we're going to take some RTV and we're going to seal the back of the syringe filter, and you want to make sure and cover all of that you roughed up. And the reason I started doing that is, for some reason, these lids started not to hold the RTV very well. And so I started roughing it up, and it holds it a little bit better that way. However, if any of it is exposed, it will rust, so you want to make sure that you cover it all. When I do the other hole, usually I'm going to use a bottle without the tube on there, because it makes it harder to push out. And you want a decent amount, so you're going to push it till it comes through, and put a decent little blob on there, and kind of even it out like that. And now, if you want, you can take and put a piece of parchment paper on there and smooth it out. I prefer not to, because I want this to be as thick as possible. If you put it on it, it's going to flatten it out a little bit, and I can show you an example. Here's one that is flattened out. It's smooth on the bottom. It looks a little nicer, but I prefer it to be thicker so that when I'm putting the needle through here, it's gonna have to go through more, and when I pull it back out, it's gonna seal it completely. So just wipe the top off like that and let it dry for about 48 hours. If you probably be alright at 24 hours, but if you do decide to use the parchment paper, and here's one with a piece of parchment paper on it. If you do decide to use this, it is going to take at least 48 hours before you can pull that off. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Pretty simple. Have a great day.